What's going on, beautiful people? It's another Tuesday, so shout out to all the adventurers, all the story lovers, and especially to everybody who's just taking their first steps to reaching their travel goals. Welcome to Point Noir, home of the Point Noir show, where we equip and inspire men of color to see themselves in a new light through travel. As always, I'm your host and tour guide, Jerry III, aka Kimono Jack, and thank you so much for joining us for our 25th session of the Point Noir podcast. Is lit. We're glad to have made it so far, and so glad for those of you who have just joined the journey and have been with us from the beginning as well. We super appreciate it. So if you'd like to continue this journey with us, make sure you follow our new IG page at Point Noir Show, and that's where you can hit us up in the DMs, let us know if there's more content or different things that you'd like to see on the show, or definitely let us know what you like about the show and what's working for you. And also we'll be adding things like tips and tricks to the highlights, and already I know we have up the exact instructions for how to be considered for a passport sponsorship. We just put that up for the month of December, so definitely check that out and share the information with anybody that you know that might be interested. As always, if you're feeling the show, if you're feeling a quote or a phrase or just, the stories being shared here by one of our guests, definitely make sure to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. That would be like a super special Christmas gift just to us. And selfishly, it motivates me to get on the mic every week, just knowing that people are out there being inspired and motivated by the content that we share on the show. We're pushing to make things better, pushing to build a community here, and having your feedback is essential because we want to add the most value for you and your stage of the journey. So without further delay, without further words, let's introduce today's guest, and I'll see you on the flip side. Joining us today at The Point as our special guest is Kamal X. You can follow him on Instagram at Rooted Traveler or check out his website, therootedproject.com. Now, this is a super interesting episode. All of them are interesting, but this one especially because Kamal has such a great amount of experience, but the things and the perspective from which he shares is not only open and inviting, but it has value to add from the most experienced travelers to the most beginner travelers. I think he shares just some fundamentals on how you might want to position your mindset and expectations when it comes to traveling the world. Some interesting areas that we talk about are his first trip, a backpacking trip across 3 countries in Southeast Asia. And then we also get some of his unique perspective from attending Burning Man, which for those of you who might not be familiar is an incredible festival/community bonding experience in the desert, and why Kamal thinks that people of color should really be attending more events like this. So as always, find a comfy, cozy chair, a refreshing beverage of choice, sit back and relax, and enjoy today's session. Yo, Kamal X, welcome to Point Noir. How are you feeling today, bro?
Awesome, man. Was that too forward? That was a lot of energy behind that. But yeah, I'm really feeling awesome right now. Really excited, extremely inspired. And we didn't even start yet. And one of them, sorry, I'm so excited. See?
Rock with it, man. You're a guy that brings a lot of energy to the room. Like, you're like 8 feet tall. You wear tiger pants. You out here traveling the world.
Pants everywhere I go. Yeah. Tiger Heart, that stuff is real. But yeah, I'm super excited because we're talking. This is like, you have an amazing platform, awesome platform. I love the episodes I've heard, the vibe. You're an amazing communicator too. Seriously, I noticed that straight off rip. Like, you're really good at asking questions and staying engaged, all that dope stuff. So I'm really excited to be here because it's such a quality situation, and it's talking about something that I obviously care a lot about, which is travel. So I am, man. Like,
dude, thank you for the time. And I know we've been trying to schedule some stuff, and but I'm excited too. Like I said, I got a little bit of tequila in you. Like, I didn't know it's that kind of party. It's always that kind of party.
Now I know. Now I know. Hopefully I get another invite, and I'll make sure I have my whiskey on ready to go. But yeah. Actually, last night, it's funny. Last night, I connected with a friend of mine, and we were talking about the movie Into the Wild. Are you familiar with that movie?
I'm not. Tell me about it.
Into the Wild. It's an amazing movie. And it kind of, before I even became a traveler, it kind of set the tone for like being a person just out there in the wilderness of life, like trying to break free of the standard how I should be living my life and and it goes through the journey of this guy named, and it's based on a true story. Alexander Supertramp, is his name that he created.
Okay,
I
I
think
was
his
about to
name
say
real,
that's a
yeah,
fire last name.
right,
Where his
yeah,
parents immigrate from?
yeah. His real name was like something McCandless. I think Christopher McCandless, and he went on this journey. Like he finished like med school or something, like some type of graduation of like some high honor at Emory, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, I don't want this. This isn't who I am. You know what I mean? I did this for my parents. So he changes his name and just goes on a trek from Atlanta, takes like, puts away his car, like destroys all his information and ID, all the money he saved away, he put it into charity and wanted to like, I guess super tramping is considered, what is it called? When you put your thumb out and you, hitchhiking, basically. So he wanted to do it like from zero in his pocket and make it all the way to
Okay.
Alaska. And the movie goes through his journey, and it's like just amazing. So I don't know. It's funny. We were drinking last night. That's why I don't think I have any whiskey left. But we were talking about the fact that we were wanderers, and it was just a dope conversation I had. And then to be here today talking about travel, it's just really dope. But yeah, amazing movie. You should check that out if you have time. For sure.
Okay, Into the Wild. Let me write it down. That's why I got my handy dandy notebook. But
yeah, awesome travel.
Speaking of getting started, bro, like, why don't you tell us more about how you got into travel? Like, when did that begin? When did things start to change? What was your first big trip? Like, let's just get right into it.
Let's go to the real. Okay, so wow. So I've been traveling for a while. So in terms of, because let me slow down. All right. So I started my first backpacking trip about, I want to say that has been almost 4.5 years now. 4.5 years, 5 years is my first ever backpacking trip. And I went and I didn't know how to backpack at all. And so what I did was I joined a tour because I did not know. And no one in my family was going to different countries and like really having that whole, like, you know, you get there and you're just like traveling through the country to the next country and all that. I knew nothing about it. And I was extremely bad at geography. So I said, yo, let me get a tour group. I'm pretty good at being social. It'll be fun. Like it's called Free and Easy Traveler. They're based in Canada. They're amazing. Like I'm cool with all those people. They really springboarded everything that I've learned and like set the tone. And that first trip was to Thailand, Cambodia, and Laos. And it was a 25-day trip. So it was 18 of us in a group, all ranging from like, I think like maybe 21 to like 28. And we were just in a group setting and and I just came in with my bag. We met in Bangkok and I'm just like, and I had to like learn everything, like how to get a backpack, like what to like clothing, like weather, everything. Cause I knew nothing. And before, I think I've always been when I say I've always been a traveler, I think I've always like been curious. So I've gone around America. I've done things like I've gone to resorts and stuff like that, but I've never traveled. I never backpacked. And for me, when travel became, when it got to the next level was the first time I backpacked. That's when I had experiences that I never thought I would ever have. And it like changed everything.
Wow. So that was, I mean, going through 3 countries, 25 days. I grew up hiking on the trails, the Appalachian trails a bit, but that's, I mean, first off, the obvious question is, oh, how many pairs of underwear did you bring? Like, were you that prepared or did you get caught off guard?
Listen, man, I'm from Newark, New Jersey. All right. So like, I don't know if you're familiar with that. We don't know anything.
Yeah, man, I'm from Philly.
Oh, so you know, so a lot of what went into that trip, I was extremely uncomfortable with. Now I did do the Appalachian Trails and that. That's funny you brought that up because I did the same thing. My high school, St. Benedict's in Newark, actually made us do that like for our freshman year of high school. Like we had to do like a week in the woods and prepare and everything. So I had some background in terms of maybe hiking and like overnight type stuff, wilderness stuff. But this level was extremely uncomfortable because I'm thinking, do I dress fly? Like, I didn't know, like, I'm bringing like dope, like, I'm bringing real gear. Like I'm like gonna like the way it is in America. Like and at that age, I was still like what 20. I don't even know, like 26. So my
Yeah.
mind state was a little different about like how you dress and you look the part. And I'm gonna go out here and meet
Mm-hmm.
people. So I had like 3 different colored Chucks. I remember that. I had like
Right.
not really name brand stuff, but it was name brandy stuff. Like it wasn't to show off a
Mm-hmm.
name brand, but it was really nice clothing. I'll put it that way.
You were trendy.
Yeah,
You were
there's
looking. You were,
great,
yeah.
great word. And I remember it's funny. The funniest story was when I was so overpacked because I didn't know how it looked. So when I got there, this
Mm-hmm.
dude was a part of the other group that just got back from their like 40-day trip. And he's
Damn.
like, yo, bro, like what's in the bag, man? I'm like, it's all my stuff. What's the problem? Like, he's like, listen, I gotta talk to you, bro. Like, have you ever traveled before? I'm like, no. Like, he's like, yo, okay, you gotta get rid of half of this shit. Like, he literally said, let's empty the whole bag. I emptied my entire bag because they put us in like a hotel room. It was like a guest house type situation with bunk beds. And you had 2
Okay.
people in each. And so when I met him, he was like my roommate for that day. So in there, I'm like, got everything on the base. Like, you don't need that. You don't need that. I brought like 4 pairs of jeans to Thailand. About the weather and how hot it is out there and just the way people dress in general, that energy is just not what you should be doing. So I think about half of my bag I left in that hotel room. And I remember that was
real quick though, bro. How did that feel? Like, how did that feel for you to be so far from home, have a stranger who you kind of probably sense was trying to help you?
Yeah.
But like, was there a little bit of ego, a little bit of pride that came away with that?
Nah, because I knew I didn't know. I knew I didn't know shit. Like, so like it's like
Right.
when this guy, because I'm the type of person I've always been a curious minded person. I love to connect with different kinds of people. I've always been that way. But this was like a different level type of people because like travelers are a unique bunch in my view. And so when I got there, I kind of got the vibe like I can't come here thinking I know it all. Because if I come here thinking I know it all, like I'm going to end up limiting myself in terms of having a good time, I think. And then also I like kind of block people off because I'm afraid. So my mindset was from jump, like, yo, you got to be open. Like you came out here. And there's a big reason why I did the trip in the first place. So my sponsoring feeling going into my first trip wasn't even just, I just want to see something different. There was a moment of truth for me saying I lost my best friend to cancer, like about that year, right? Which is very devastating. Wow. And it's funny because the day he passed was yesterday, which was a dope. That's why my boy came through and we had an amazing time connecting and reminiscing. And when he passed, I remember he loved how free I was and how curious I was. So he would always say, yo, that's so dope that you just be living in different places. I lived in Atlanta. I lived in New York, Baltimore. I live in LA now, and I lived in Houston. And I've just always...
And you just recently moved, right?
Yeah, I just moved back to LA. So this is my second time in LA. I think this is it, though, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, so I've always been that person. So even before I began doing the international thing, the people that I grew up with looked at me like, yo, you really left Jersey? Like, that's crazy. So...
That's real.
It gives you a perspective of what it means to be a traveler and why I'm always of the mindset. I think sometimes we get too caught up with the international vibe, and we need to just realize if you're a person of curiosity and freedom, then you're a traveler. Like, you don't have to necessarily stack up the stamps to say like if you're just a curious minded person. I think to me it's all the same, because you might not have the means yet. There might not be that time for you yet, but whatever. So fast forward, going from that mentality, that was a lot of more reason why when I got to Bangkok and this fellow is nice enough to give me pointers, I'm like, yeah, I need help. Like, tell me what I need to know, because I don't want to be that guy that thinks he knows it all. And to be honest, it actually was really, it was very symbolic too. The fact that just going to first day, first trip, you come there with a whole bag full of all the stuff that you thought you need. You get there and you're told half of it you need to leave behind. The next day we left for Cambodia, and it made me think about my life in terms of
Mm.
like, am I going places like how sometimes you have to let go of things to get to where you need to be, and
You got to
sometimes
get rid of that excess
yeah, you
baggage to
got to let it
proceed.
to really to you got to make room to do what you got to do. And he was also like, man, you're
Yeah.
about to see 3 different countries. Like you need space to put in like new clothes and stuff you want to bring home. My stomach was packed to the brim. So that was just to me was one of the first greatest lessons I learned as a international backpacker or whatever. Is it was like, wow, I have to make sure I'm making space and I'm not cluttering my energy, my intentions too much to the point where I'm not allowing freedom to really be what it really is. Yeah.
Wow, bro. That's deep. Like we only a couple minutes in, but that's deep. I mean, really, really, how can I reach for what's to come with both hands full? You know,
Mm-hmm. Real, real.
it's 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 not happening. And for you to come with so much humility, because internationally, and for all y'all listening, Americans, people from the United States, have really shitty reputations
Mm-hmm.
internationally for thinking they know everything. From
Really bad.
coming from this big bad country and running things, and they come out and they get shook. So
Listen,
for you to
yeah.
come under those mental circumstances, man, that I'm sure that was really pivotal for you setting up your success and getting the most out of that experience. So like
Word.
salute to you, man.
Oh, I really appreciate that, man. That's real. Because to keep it real, I don't know who's listening, like how many travelers or people that are going or becoming them. Yeah, Americans get a really bad rap. It's to the point where, to be honest, and I've been in that what 4.5 years, I've been to over 40 countries, and
Wow.
I want to say that when I meet Americans, I'm actually naturally kind of like not standoffish. I give everybody a chance, but I'm not automatically like, oh, an American. Like I'm not
Right.
going to get excited because most times we're the ones that are most closed off when we go places. We're the ones that are extremely afraid and cautious. And I'm not, and a lot of that has to do with the things that we're taught here. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
but I think as you build experiences and you start to understand the way the world works, I think you start to open yourself up and realize like everybody is not out to get you. Everyone isn't worried about you either. And that you have just like, I mean, to create experiences, you have to show up. Like we can't go places
Yeah.
and expect to spectate because that's what a lot, especially with Instagram. And I think we get too caught up in going places and just witnessing life instead of being a part of it and making sure you're bringing something to the room. I always say, like, when you come into a room, what do you bring into it? Like in your friendships and your
Right.
connections and that moment on an airplane when you're talking to somebody, and you're just talking about where you're coming from or whatever. Like, bring yourself to that, and you'll be surprised what you create versus when you just sit back and watch. I think a lot of times we miss a lot of opportunities, like in everyday life. Like it's just a way of thinking, I think.
And I like the way that even when you talked about traveling, that it doesn't always have to be international. And when
Or
you adjust your mindset and when you, approach a situation with others, it
mm,
doesn't have to just be, while you're traveling. It could be just walking into a party, walking into a
or
bar, walking into a meeting. Being closed off does limit your opportunities, and
mm,
we can be standoffish.
you definitely can, and it's okay. And I don't think you don't have to be the alpha in the room or nothing like that. It's just a matter of, well, what do you really want? Like, what do you
Mm.
want? Because if you say like, yo, I want to go travel the world, or I want to just have an amazing trip, and I want to do something different, I want to experience a new me, I want to really, yeah, like I think if that's your intention, then it's like we have to make sure that we're really like being with it, an example of what we want, and making sure. But if we just want to chill, then that's fine too. Like that's some people have that prerogative, and I have no issue with that either. I think it's really about what you want, and I think for me, because travel has shifted my life in so many ways, like, and this a lot of this stuff is based on my own experiences. Like when I talk about that first trip, it wasn't a cakewalk at all. It was extremely, like, you would think like Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, like he had that deep situation as soon as he started. So it's like the trip of a lifetime because he's been traveling for whatever long. But honestly, that was like one of the worst trips I've ever been on. And
That's boot camp, bro.
yeah,
That's boot camp for real.
exactly. Like it was the most meaningful. And I connected with some people and I'm still really close to a lot of them. But like overall, it was extremely hard because I was this 6'5" black man in the middle and with a group and I love everybody, especially my Canadians. So this is nothing about race, but it's just about being a different person around a group. And everyone was mainly Canadian. And it was like, I'm already in a country where I don't necessarily know how to fit in. And then I'm into a group of 18 people that I'm going to be with for 25 days that I don't fit in. And it forced me, because at first I got really down on myself because I'm like, yo, this sucks. Like, how come I can't, like, I know I'm good at connecting with people. Like, why is this not working? Like, I don't like the type of music they listen to. They don't like what I like. The jokes aren't that funny to me. For example, these are certain things that I was paying attention to. And I realized I was a spectator and someone sitting back watching people and hoping somebody would bring something to me instead of being a person bringing something to the group. And it was, I remember we were in, I think it was in Siem Reap. It's amazing over there. They have like this, they do this like tubing where you go and you tube down this river and there's like bars along the river. So it's like maybe, I think it was like 60 or 80 people. No, more than that. Yeah, definitely. Like about 150, 200 people and all travelers from all over the world. And they go and they're like, there's like a meetup at like, I think like 11 o'clock or something like that. You meet there and then they start you off with shots and, it's talking and games and stuff like that. And then they're like, okay, here we go. And then they have all these tubes and you're like, and I'm not even realizing and I'm weird about water. So that was a challenge too. But like, so you get in the tube and you sit in the tube and normally you got a drink with you or something like that. And you're literally and they push you down the river. There's a stream going. And then at the next bar, and this is like, imagine like, jungle-y vibe. Like, it's not like you're in the jungle, basically. That's what it looks like. There's trees everywhere. Nothing looks extremely developed. There's just like these shacks that they've made into like lounges that are like outdoor, indoor. And it's just like a beachy vibe kind of thing. And then they will hook you in. So as you get to the next one, it might be like a 7-minute cruise. And then like they'll be throwing out the ropes and they pull you in. And then at that next bar, there's like a whole different energy. Like the music might be reggae and the color, and they'll give you like headbands and stuff like that. And this is like, I think it's like 8 different bars you go on. It's like almost like a pub crawl, but on the river, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
So I remember I just remember that was a part of the trip that was just dope. So I'm just putting it out there for anybody that's thinking about going to Siem Reap.
What country is that in? Because I'm not even familiar.
Remember I told you I'm bad at geography. But I'm pretty sure that is, if I'm wrong, please, people out there, do not crash. Like, this is something I'm not good at, but I believe this in Laos. Like,
it sounds right.
Yeah,
it sounds like the stories I've heard before. I believe
that's where it's at. I'm pretty sure that's where it's at. But on that same, as dope as that day was, that night, I remember feeling again like I'm not connecting with people the way I know I want to. This trip means more to me because I'm coming with a deeper reason, like what happened with my best friend. And I called my mom on Skype, and I remember she was like, well, why don't you just stop giving a damn? Why don't you stop trying to please them and fit into their, like, make them feel you or whatever, and just do what the fuck you want to do? And I remember I was like, right. And when I tell you, when I started that, the weird thing that happened, and this set the benchmark for like my travel experiences the rest of since then. Once I started not caring about what other people thought or trying to fit in or trying to force feed my personality, like to try to, I don't know how to put it, but just like forcing it instead of just being. Once I started just being when I tell you, I started connecting with people at a level that was insane. People in a group that I wasn't feeling, we ended up having deep conversations. I found out like 2 of the people in the group actually had the similar situation where 2 of their friends got murdered in a shooting in Canada. And
in Canada?
Yeah, in Canada. There was a shooting it's like 6 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. There was a shooting in Canada where they shot up a school, and they told me that their friends were the ones that unfortunately got hit that day. And we're saying this trip was a part of them, rebuilding themselves and being, so it was like, wow. And then I started meeting people everywhere I went, and it became like, and who I was, they started to appreciate it more. And I feel like they saw me more clearly because I was out of my own head and just really having a genuine experience. And that kind of changed not just the way I traveled, but my entire life. It just opened me up to so much about how you choose to show up in a room and how you choose to show up in any group setting. And the thing that I love about travel, is that I think it forces you to see yourself for who you really are. Especially if you're doing it for like longer periods. If you're going to like, like it, like if you're out for like a extended period of time, and you're going places where you really have to kind of like learn the culture, you gotta like get really confused, might be a different language or something like that, where it's more challenging to move, where it's not necessarily just a resort and you're kicking back chilling. But when you're out there and you're like having like it forces you, because it puts you in a situation where like, what you gonna do? Like, no one's gonna like baby you into having an experience. So are you gonna figure out how the trains work? Are you gonna figure out like how the geography works in the town? How to use I don't know, what words to use, and like all the, the little nuances of being in a new place. It shows like, I think it's a very gratifying experience when you like, I don't know, like you see different parts of yourself that you may have not known were there.
True for most of us who've gone out, especially, multiple times. You traveled 40 countries in 4 years, you said 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Wow, like that's a lot. But what was it in that first trip that, I mean, because not everybody's quite wired the same way, but I think once they have one of these experiences
Mm-hmm.
where they see themselves differently, they're into it. Just like you, I mean, you took off from three
Yeah.
countries in one trip
Yeah.
to 40.
Yeah.
What was it during that first trip that you said, I like this, or I like this about me and I want to see more of this?
Great question. For me, it was one, the realizations that I had with myself that didn't seem to be happening back at home. Like it wasn't as if like I was a person that like, well, we're all always growing. Like no matter what, we never got it all figured out. And I guess like in my life I was living, I think I plateaued in terms of just the way it was going, like the rhythm of my life, like something needed to change basically. And I think
Bro, that's so real.
yeah, so when I had that experience and on that 25 day, it was like, oh, I got some new life now. Like I'm learning again. Like I feel like I'm fresh again. Like I feel like the world, like now I'm like, my eyes are like opened again. Like I got all this space. Like I got this whole world to now experience. And what was happening, for me, because I used to be a life coach. And now I'm an inspirational speaker. Like I decided that that's more my lane. But for me, I am who I am. So when I was traveling, I was connecting in such a powerful way with people with these moments that were just unbelievable. And to this day, it still happens. And not every trip or whatever, but it just happens where you have these connections with a random person, a random group. It doesn't even make sense. All y'all from different walks of life or something like that. And y'all just are having a conversation like we're having right now. And you're like, whoa. Like sometimes people get healed. Like, they might get something off their chest that they can't share at home. Sometimes people are extremely lost and don't know what they want to do with their life. So they just say, I'm going to get a ticket and go and hopefully figure it out. Sometimes people are running from things. Sometimes people are running towards things. And it's like this highway of life when you're traveling to all these destinations. And it's like when you get that intersection moment where you have something something special happens, like a connection, a bond, or a moment of realization, an aha moment. Like my man that told me, like, yo, throw away half the shit in your bag. Like that, he probably doesn't think about that. But that moment has spearheaded so much in terms of my lifestyle. And he wasn't even trying. He was just being himself. And I think that's what happens for me in travel. It's been a lot of those type of moments where it might be someone giving me gifts in terms of like some type of vibes that are helping me propel in my life, and vice versa. And I think that feeling is the biggest thing, like really getting the story of the people that are making these decisions to move from where they're from to say, this is, I had enough, or to end a relationship and be like, I got to figure me out, or to be in a relationship and be like, we want to travel the world together. You're like, it's just so many beautiful things that I think come with the idea of like exploration and adventure. And I think that's what had me like hooked to it. And I think a lot of times people, when I say like 40 countries, it's like, that's not normal, so to speak. And I think, for me, I grew up knowing real estate very well in my family, more so my mom. And I used to be a real estate agent, in my early 20s. And I was like serious about real estate. And I saved up a lot of money, and helped and invested in a couple of properties. And what happened was, and I didn't realize what this was setting up was, because I didn't like being an agent anymore, as well as I was at it. And I knew it wasn't who I was. Like, I felt like I was dying inside with the day to day. Like, it was dope to say like, oh, I'm this, I can be a broker one day, I'm making X amount of dollars. It looked good on paper, but I felt hollow. So I quit.
Yeah.
And luckily the investment properties were able to be self-sustaining, and the money, so that residual passive income is what I pretty much bank on to finance the way I move. So,
wow.
So it's a lot. So and that's another reason why I think I don't get too caught up in like how many places a person's been, because everyone doesn't necessarily have the same abilities. Like, everyone doesn't have the same situation to just get up and go. And I'm very understanding to that. Like, but I am concerned isn't the word, but I hope to inspire people to just think of themselves as people that can create new experiences daily. Like, it doesn't have to be what I do. Like, what I'm trying to inspire people to do is not just to travel. It's more about finding who you are and doing things that propel you. If it works for you, then I love it. Like, you can say, because for some people to get on a plane and go all the way to Thailand, that will drive them crazy. Like, that would make them extremely uncomfortable. It would not be a fun experience.
The flight alone.
Yeah. Like
the flight alone shakes a lot of people.
Exactly. There's a lot of things with travel, like traveler's diarrhea. Like, it's a lot of crazy things that happen.
Diarrhea is real, y'all. If you don't learn one damn thing, diarrhea is real. Protect yourself.
Have your yes, please make sure you got your antibiotics, because like it goes down.
You smecta, all of it.
It can mess you up, mess up your entire trip. Don't have like a 5-day trip. Think you're about to. And that's definitely a big pointer. Make sure you got your antibiotics, because you don't want to fall into that trap. But yeah, that's a lot of more of like the vibe of Rooted Traveler. It's just, we're all on this journey. Just make sure it's the journey that you want, and that fits for you. Yeah.
Well, and it makes sense when you say that you're now a life coach and in sharing this information, hopefully definitely guiding other people towards it, because that journey, I believe that everybody can have success by their own means, by their own personal definition of success. But the first step is defining success for you.
Word. And that's, yeah, man. Cause it's interesting. And like when I first started traveling, and this is another thing too, the travel community, that sometimes it bothers me a little bit. And we just have to be very cautious of it. When we downplay people because they may have not been as many places as we've been. And we become like, we brag about the places we've been. Because like me, when I did nothing about geography, and I was a person that only been, my first trip was actually to Africa, Ghana, which is powerful. I'm so thankful that was my first ever trip. But I was with my dad, and that was like, I was just with him. I didn't like really explore. We explored, but it wasn't like me doing it myself.
Right.
But I remember going into that, and there was just a lot of people that made me feel like I didn't even want to talk about the one trip I've been on. They talking about, we went out to Egypt, and out there they give you the so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. Then we went out to Germany, where they have so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. And although those might be your experiences that you've seen or whatever, and you should not like hold that back. That's all good. But I did notice, as a person that was coming into it, there was a feeling of like, I've been here, I've been here. I've been to 30 countries. I've been to 20 countries. I've been to 10. Like, I really tell people that I've been to 40 countries. Like, I've been around plenty of people. They have not known anything about where I've been. Because to me, that doesn't matter.
Right.
And so that it's just a thing that I think we have to be, the travel community that I want us to be. Well, I'm not saying we aren't, but like just more inclusive to people, and not to do something to brag about it, but to really just have a real experience, like to really have a moment where you're like, wow, this really does mean something to me. Like this really did something for me. Instead of getting too caught up in just the dope pictures, and it looks good, like especially if you're trying to build a following and all that, like holla, do your thing. But the thing that surprised me the most from when I started versus where I am today was how many people really are in search of something, but still trying to figure it out. But we want to kind of put on an image, and this is everyday life too. This isn't just travelers. We want to put on an image that we do have it together, and we are like completely solid. And it's like, once you start to really get to know people and see people's stories, like that's not normally the reality, but we have to get to a space where we're more vulnerable enough to like be okay with that. You know, like that's my perspective anyway on it. It's like, I don't want to make people think that this travel lifestyle is so glamorous. And so it is amazing. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of people that are really, there's something deeper going on, and it's normally deeper than the pictures that you see and the beautiful places. There's normally a deeper spiritual vibe that they're going towards. And I think we just have to make sure that I think we just need to, I don't think we need to do anything, but I just pay more attention to the reality of like the truth versus like the show, if that makes sense.
I I really appreciate that you shared that perspective so clearly on the show, because for the level of this show and what I want to create here and the sort of encouragement and the way I want to equip, especially men of color, to be out in the world, they need to hear that from somebody who's traveled to 40 countries. Because I DM people, bro, to be on the show who've never traveled out the country. Some have been to one or two countries, and they say, ah, man, I can't, man. I've only been to a couple countries. No. I'm like, bro, I don't care about that. I don't care about your passport. I've barely been to a dozen countries myself, and I'm the fucking host.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
I want brothers that have something to say. I want brothers who've had a change. I want people who have perspective, and it means a lot coming from someone with your level of experience and your ability to have that sort of humility and be vulnerable. Just like you said, man, it's awesome.
That's awesome that you picked up. That's amazing. I'm happy to hear you say that too, because it's very important. And I remember my first major trip, like after, because I was so lifted after that first 25 day. Like I started doing like little trips, like, but I wanted to do my big backpacking trip. I wanted to really get out there, so I decided to do South and Central America. So I did. It was supposed to be 6 months, but it ended up being 4 months. And literally, I think I went through about, I would say 75% of South and Central America, like most of it. Like wow. It just all of like in some places we just couldn't afford it, but like and that was when the real change happened. That was the next level, because I was really out there on my own and I learned, I didn't speak a lick of Spanish. So like I'm out there and it's going down. Like it's serious. Like South Central America is amazing. That's my favorite place, but it's also very real. Like the danger and stuff like that, the crazy experiences you can have, it's very real. So you kind of have to be I think a little bit more experienced and street savvy when you're going out to some of these places, because it's beautiful, but there's also a real risk of like, just make sure you know where you're at. If you got street smarts though, I think you'll be okay anywhere you go. But because it's pretty much like common sense things, but that was very eye-opening. So, and the thing that I learned on that trip, that the next level, and it goes into what we're talking about here right now, is I realized the people that were so caught up in saying the countries that they've been to in terms of the number. And this is no shade on anyone that does this. This is just something to think about.
Right.
I realized they had less to talk about on a real level in terms of real life and what they learned from their trips than some people that have never been anywhere. Some people that might go to Arizona or maybe something more simple. Maybe they went to like Florida or California for the first time. And the revelations they had on something that on paper would be like, oh, you just went to California. But for them, I had deeper conversations with those people than the ones that would hit me with the 40, 30, 20. And it was so eye-opening. It was like, this is so weird. Like, wait, so I thought that the ones that went to all these countries so cultured. They knew so much about the world. They were so deep. Like, then I got there and I'm like, y'all don't know nothing because y'all just going places to show off to people to try to live an image of who you are. You go places to witness things, but you don't have real experiences. And I realized that there are a lot of people that never travel that are just more experience-based people. And they go places and they just create real experiences. And I think, and that's when I realized that, yo, it's not about the countries. It's about having an experience. There's people that have never been anywhere. I've had some of the deepest conversations with people that haven't been anywhere, like literally.
Right.
Like it's just interesting how that like it just changes your perspective on so many things, like about life, I think, and just asking more questions and really finding out for yourself instead of believing what people tell you.
Yeah. That's real, bro. That's real. And as someone who's traveled, you know, a bit myself, more than average, one of the things I've learned to admire the most is the person who's never left their hometown, but is an expert and a pretty much a local treasure, a historical treasure, because they never left their town, but they created experiences for themselves and for others, and can define the geography of that little, 10 square block area just as well as someone making a map of, Australia or something like that. They know the topography of a culture. That's something.
Yeah. And that's real. That's so real. And it starts to question, but as we continue to grow and figure this thing out, because we're all on this journey together, it makes you start to question, like, well, everything I'm doing, is this really feeding me? Is this really bringing light to my life the way I would like it to? Is this really who I am? Does this really mean something to me? Like, or am I just doing this because it's supposed to feel this way? Like, I'm supposed to, like, if you go to Tibet or something like that, I haven't been there. I can't wait to go though. But if you go to Tibet, my mindset based on movies and, the vibes, I would think you probably go there and have some deep revelation. You just would assume that. And
or learn Kung Fu.
Yeah, something, right? Like you would think in your mind, you go like, oh, it's gotta be deep. Like you went out there, but the truth is there's a lot of times, and I've experienced this where I've been places where I was supposed to have an experience and I didn't. But now you got a pressure to like, so you didn't have the experience you really thought it was going to be. So what are you going to do? Like, are you going to because you spent all this time, you put so much expectation on this experience, are you going to now lie to yourself and say, this is, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, how was it? It was amazing. I'm like, why? The culture was real. Really? What about the culture really like?
Right.
Well, it was different. So it's like once you start to really start asking questions, it just, not that I'm judging anyone's journey, but these are things that I did for myself that I had to start paying attention to. Like, am I just saying that this was a great trip because it sounds like a great thing to do? Or did I really have a great experience? And just something to think about. Like, did this really mean anything to me? And yeah, it's that, those things are things that have like kind of set the tone for how I move. And travel has a lot to do with all that. So yeah, travel's amazing.
I think that's a great introspective question to ask. So given all your experience in backpacking, I mean, you're going to be my backpacking expert right now, man. Tell me what I don't know about backpacking and what do I need to come prepared with? What's my mindset need to be? What do I need to pack? Talk to us about backpacking, because I don't have many guests on the show to this point who have that much experience with it. So what do I need to know about this sort of travel? Because a lot of us, I mean, shit, I didn't plan on backpacking anywhere this year, but I just might after what you shared with me.
Yeah, you can travel any way you want. So there's no, because I travel, like I'm going to Jamaica in 3 days for a wedding. And to me, I can't wait. I'm gonna be on a resort. I'm gonna be chilling. I'm definitely not gonna be. I'm gonna have my backpack, but that's not a backpacking, type of trip. So I enjoy the different types of, like, sometimes I want to be in luxury. Sometimes I want to just chill. but I just prefer backpacking overall, and it's cheaper. But what I would say for backpacking, what you need to, the biggest thing I think is really like being in a space where you're going for an experience, you're going to connect, you're going to really come out of your zone, right? I would think so. And you have to kind of let go
Is
of,
that because you're closer to the ground, like physically, and you're really relying on your own physical strength to move? Is that
yeah,
what it is? What's the
because a
difference?
lot of it is you got to do that on your own. Like if you go, like you got to figure the whole thing out. Like there's some places you
Mm.
go where it's so touristy that it's very easy to maneuver. Like you know where to go. Like it's simple. You know what I mean? But if you
Right.
go to, I don't know, I'm thinking like if you're in Bolivia, for example, their
Mm-hmm.
tourism, or my last trip that was amazing. I went to Burma. They changed the name to it, but it's Burma. I call it Burma. And that was
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal. But the tourism is so low that you had to really understand how to get around. You had to understand that they had an 11 o'clock curfew because they're technically at a civil
Mm.
war. And so you can't just be walking around and go to the store. And it's just all these little things you have to really be. I'm probably more in autopilot mode at this point, but you just have to be so much
Mm-hmm.
more. You have to pay attention way more to detail with backpacking. I think that's the biggest thing. Like you have to really be good at being adjustable, being able to deal with the fact that if you go to a hostel and you thought it was going to be one experience and you get there, it might not be what you expected. I normally have a decent experience with
Right.
my hostels though. I really check the reviews very deeply. I don't just like trust them. With booking.com
Right.
is amazing for that. Um,
Okay.
and I would say, yeah, just it's such a vague question. Like, there's so many parts to it, but to simplify it, it's just to really come there for the experience, really let go. Don't bring anything that you're afraid to lose. Like that goes back to like
Okay. That's real.
the dressing thing. Like, because when I went the first time, I had 3 pairs of Chucks and everything, and I would just be so. I mean, you can wear whatever you want to do. Like, be fly, do your thing if that's what you want to do. But I've noticed a lot of these places, like especially like Thailand, for example, when I go there and I see like, especially us, because whenever I see black people, I love it. I make sure I say something. Sometimes I don't get no love back. It's all good, but I'll make sure I wave or give a head nod or something. Um, and
Right.
sometimes we're extremely, and it's only because this is the way we are as Americans, but like extremely overdressed, like out of place, like to a point
Mm-hmm.
where it's way more chill. Like it's way more chill. Like just put some shorts and a tank top, you'll be straight. Like some flip flops. Like
Right.
don't bring like a big bag. Like you can keep it very simple. Like just being more of a person that's like every day you're like creating. That's literally what it's like. Every day
Right.
is like you got to figure it out. And that might, to some people, that might be stressful. You might not want that. But for a person like me that loves adventure, loves curiosity, loves puzzles and stuff like that, I love that energy because it makes me feel alive. Like it makes me feel like I figured this out. Like I'm talking to people
Yeah.
that speak a completely different language and somehow we are communicating. And like it's a beautiful thing, and it really takes you out. You have to get out of your zone because if you're not, let's put it like this. This is real basic. It's something I always notice when I travel with, especially newcomers to travel. They're normally afraid to ask people for directions. Something very as simple
Mm.
as that, and like they'll walk around with a map and be lost, and be looking at their phone and be lost. It's like, yo, if you ask my man right here, just be like, and just say, hey, how you doing? Yo, we're trying. And if you don't understand what you're saying, say the state, or not the state, the city, say the name of the building or something. Like, learn that and say, blah, 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 whatever, right? And then he'll probably point you somewhere or something. It's just like, you gotta kind of be ready to create every day you step out. And it's a different
Yeah.
form that I as of this point, I'm 32. So there is going to be a point where, I'm not really going to be moving like that. But for now,
Right.
it's fun. That's the way I think. My opinion, mad love to everybody. I love resorts. I'm with that. It's expensive though. But my opinion, I kind of look at it like when I get older, I want to do like the resorts and the more laid back and the fancy. But for now,
Yeah.
for now, while I'm young and I can do it, I want to have like those type of experiences for now. Like for me, that's me though. It's very interesting. I hope
That
that
makes
gave you
sense. And
some light on that. I hope I didn't keep it too vague on that. Um,
No, you're good because I know there's a lot to it.
Mm-hmm.
It just sounds like you know those choose your own adventure books. I
Mm-hmm.
used to read a lot of them when I was a kid, where you flip the page and you just kind of try not to die before
Yeah.
too long.
Yeah.
It pretty much sounds like that, but very you plan a trip, you got your friends, you got your hotels, you're gonna make a little tour, whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
sounds like when you have a backpack on and you're moving by your own feet, it seems like every hour is your choose your own adventure
Yeah,
story.
I'm telling
Like
you, every
it's
moment,
really up
like
to you
it
to
can
make it
change. It
happen.
can change like a blink of an eye. You can be somewhere. My mind gets blank when I try to think about my experiences, but like you can be in where's this last time this happened? I think I was in and which is amazing. It's one of my
Mm-hmm.
top 5 places in the world. Beautiful, beautiful country. And I meet this group of people. We connect heavy, like it was deep. It was like 4 people, and I tell you, we were all just like clicking. It was just fun. We were going out at night. We would go in the daytime. Another person was a photographer too, so that vibe was amazing. We were able to get dope photos, and we just changed our entire
Nice.
itinerary overnight. It was like, all right, so wait, where you going next? And one person was going this way, the other person was going that way. I was going this way. It was like, all right, let's just change it right now. So we were able to have
Right.
that freedom to pivot and be like, oh no, I want to switch it. And I think that's and that can be again scary. Sometimes people don't have that
Mm-hmm.
level of time, so I understand. But for me, what you're saying, it's that level of freedom where it's constantly like you don't know what's going to happen. And that's not all the time, but that's a lot of the time for me. Unless I have a dedicated, like I'm going on some type of, like I'm speaking, or I like this photography stuff I have to do, then it's like, well, nice meeting you,
Right.
like, but
Right.
but yeah, that freedom though is like great because when you set up an itinerary, you got like an 8-day trip. Y'all already set the entire itinerary before y'all got there. Now you get there, and I know you're excited about your trip. Amazing, no judgment. But now you got there. What if you change your mind? What if you found out something when you get there that is something more appeasing to you, but you already set up the itinerary. You're already paid. So
Right.
there's so many things
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes you miss out when you're going to a brand new place and you're trying to force an experience versus going to a place and creating one. And I think that's in a nutshell, that's how I view the difference when I'm doing resort vibes, which I love too, versus when I'm doing the backpacking thing. Like it's just a different level for me. 100%.
Yeah, and I like the way that the whole time you've been speaking about your experiences and your perspectives that you explicitly leave it open for people to say, hey, do what moves you, because I'm a big fan of that as well. Rock with what you rock how you rock. Not everybody's going to be with backpacking. Not everybody's going to be luxury. Not everything's binary in this world, but feel comfortable and walk, live your truth, beloved,
Yeah, beloved. yeah.
Right, get on some Taxstone vibes on that.
Yeah.
That's that East Coast shit.
Yeah, for sure. Live your truth, yo. Yeah, and that's what just, if you like it, I love it, man. But just make sure,
Exactly.
you actually love it. Don't love it because they tell you're supposed to love it. Like, love it because you love
right,
it.
and don't try to hype me up so that you can convince yourself that you love it.
Yeah.
As much as I love you, I don't give a shit.
Exactly.
I
Like,
there's
nothing wrong. Sometimes
I'm not going to help you lie to you. Get out of here.
Exactly. Sometimes it wasn't that dope. Like, it wasn't what I thought it was. And that's okay. Like, don't feel the pressure to prove something because you finally did something. Like, it's just be you. Just be truthful to who you really are. And yeah, I just want to say, everybody that's listening, this is an amazing podcast. First, this is awesome. I really appreciate this, man. This is really dope. And from hearing the other episodes that I listened to, I hope, I'm sure that a lot of people are getting just so many different perspectives on this, and hopefully applying it in different ways. It's so dope to create something like that. Like, this is really amazing. There definitely is Black travel is something that is still growing. We still have a lot more, we got a lot of different things that are going to reasons as to why we're not as big into the travel community yet. We're making our way though, and it's a beautiful thing. I'm seeing more and more of us out there, more and more of our culture out there. Like, they understand, like, they're actually playing hip hop. Oh my God. Like, I get tired of going places and they just play that, like that EDM. And it's like, come on, man. Everybody likes hip hop. Like, stop playing. But like, yeah, I'm just seeing shifts in the culture because more of us are stepping out, and that's just a beautiful thing. And platforms like this definitely, I believe, is inspiring people to like figure out how they want to move, and that's just some beautiful stuff, for real, for real.
Man, I really appreciate that, and people like you being willing to trust a random stranger from the internet. I really appreciate, and you also, one thing about your energy and vibe that always stood out to me from first checking you out on Instagram and just seeing how you move is that you are often engaging in things that you don't see a lot of us represented in. So like you were
Oh,
at Burning Man, and I know that it's not
oh,
an
here,
international trip,
here we go.
but it's so funny because the only other people that I know that have gone to Burning Man
Hmm.
are life coaches too. So it seems to be a vibe there. So real quick, can you tell us about Burning Man and
Woo!
what that's like? Tell the people about Burning
I
Man.
would
Just, I
gladly
mean,
talk
yeah,
about the burn. Okay. Burning Man. Now, everything I just said about backpacking in terms of the randomness and like you got to figure it out and you don't know if the day can go from this to the next day, you're somewhere completely different. That is a
right.
microcosm of, and well, let me not say that. That is one of the reasons why I loved Burning Man so much. This is my first year I just went. Cause it was that
Mm-hmm.
amplified. Like it's 80,000 people in a self-made city in the middle of the desert. Like everything is made by the people that come up. There's no like organization that's like, okay, we're going to set everything up for you guys. Have fun. It's a festival. Everything is made by the
Right.
80,000 people that show up. So it's just um, it's such a unique energy from jump just to be in something like that. You don't pay for anything once you get there. And then you're completely
Right. There's no
yeah,
currency or
there's no
something. Like
currency.
you
No,
just, you
nothing.
guys trade
Everything is free.
hugs and,
Listen, you get there. It's so like once I got there, we got there at like 3 o'clock in the morning on like I can't remember what day. I did 6 days or 6 days. And once you get there, it
wow.
already starts. Once you pass the like you get your car on the lot. I'm not going to tell you because if you got whoever shows up, I want them to
Mm-hmm.
experience it for the first time. But there's something that happens and it's amazing. It lets you know like, oh my God, I'm really here. Um,
Yeah.
the energy, so it's 8,000 people, no currency, everything is free, and everybody wants everybody to have a good time. And more importantly, everybody wants everyone to be free. There's a strong emphasis
Yeah.
on like express yourself and be yourself, whatever that looks like. There's no like you have to be wild, you have to do drugs, you have to be having sex over here. It's none of that. Like I know that's the idea that people come into it because I came into it with that idea also, to be honest. And I was completely
Yeah.
shocked when I got there and I was looking around at what was actually going on. You can't, no person can ever explain what Burning Man is. It's such a mind blowing thing to experience. Like if you try to picture in your mind 80,000 people in the middle of the desert, you got art everywhere. You got all types of beautiful cars flying by. It looks like the California Love video. That's what it looked like.
Hmm.
Everyone is dressed in that kind of way. If you look at that video, that's kind of the look of what you got going on because you're in a desert, everybody's dusty, and it's just craziness. And you got all this, and you got music because music is a big deal. So you just got all these vibes everywhere you go. It's like one day there's probably like 80 different events happening, all different things. You got a life coaching thing over there happening. You got a yoga thing going on over here. You got a hip hop thing going over here. You got like some hard rock. You got a jazz thing. You got a exercise thing. Something about a poetry thing. Anything in your mind, because everything is made by the people. So anything that you come up with in your mind that you want to create, any kind of event, they're happening. And they give you like this book and it has like, each day has like literally like over 100 events. Easy. And you can just
Wow.
pick and it tells you like what's happening, what's the theme. Some stuff is crazy wild, some stuff is really deep and real. It's about who you are. It's something for everybody. And I would say, and the thing that's beautiful, because I wrote a really good piece called Black at Burning Man that really
Mm-hmm.
was amazing. A lot of people connected with that in a strong way because it was real. And one of the things that, because whenever you would see black people, like there'll be a black person, like, how do I put this? Like a football field away because it's so flat. You can see kind of far out. So, and you like ride your bike. So you
Right.
can't like drive, you ride your bike to get around like a regular bicycle to get around. There's no cars because they just don't allow that. and you would just be like, oh snap. So, cause I remember one time I was chilling at the Afro Pick. If you guys go to my page, you'll see like I have a picture with the Afro Pick with the tiger pants. And
Yeah.
I'm chilling there, and all of a sudden, like, hey, what's up, bro? I'm like, what? Like, I got a little shook because I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, man, we saw you all the way down there. We had to say hello, man. What's up, black man? Like, and we all like embraced,
Right.
and it's like it's a beautiful thing. And a lot of the conversations I had were about like, you know, we need every time I saw someone black, whether it be like some random celebrity, there's a lot of athletes there randomly. It would be like, yo, it's good that we here. We need more of us. That was the conversation every single time. Even white people, like when they would see me or anybody from any different background would say, yeah, man, I'm happy to see you out here, man. We need more of y'all out here. It's not, and to be honest, this is why one of the things that it was really unique for me in America and the reason why I love the community so much. I go places and I'm a black man whenever I go places. Like I know that that's how I'm getting seen, right? I'm a black man. I feel like I'm a black man. And when I'm in a room, I am a black man, but you don't like in terms of just seeing me as a person doesn't really happen. You see me as a black man first. When I went to Burning Man, especially the second day, I remember there was a point when we were on the bikes. I met this other group of people. They were amazing. Veronica, I think I already talked about her. She was on one of my last episodes. The last two people actually I interviewed on my show were from Burning Man that I met through Burning Man. And I was with Veronica's group.
Okay.
And we were just riding out to there was like a Michael Jackson party happening in the middle of the desert somewhere. So we had to like ride our bikes to get to it. So as we're going there, we stopped to like try to figure out where we're at. And like, there's people riding their bikes all different directions, colors everywhere. There's people parachuting out the sky with these beautiful like flags of different colors, like like they're like coming down like they're skiing, like they're looking like not skiing but surfing, looking like gliding through with these long flags coming from all different directions. You got dragon cars here. You got like a stand here, and it was funny because the third day we did an iced tea stand where we were giving out iced tea and advice. So we just put like a group thing together. We had a cooler with ice because that's one thing you can buy is ice. Ice is the only thing you can buy because that's very important. And we were having, and so people would come because people would be thirsty, and we would give ice, and then we were asked a random question, and then we would give some. It'd be just like, you know, sometimes I got a little deep, but it was pretty just for fun though. Like, yo, what do you need advice with? We're here. And that's just an example of something that my group brought to the vibe. So imagine you got all these people, everybody's trying to bring something to the vibe. So whenever you're going somewhere, you're going to see so many things that are very mind altering and just dope. And I remember I started crying because when I saw all this happening at the same time, I was like, I've never witnessed all of this in my life. Like, how is this possible? Like, and why are not more of us here? That's the first thing that goes through our mind because it's like, we have to be experiencing this stuff because this stuff, it inspires you in a way that I think it's just a very unique experience. And back to the whole coming into the room as a black man, that was the first time in America that I was in a space and I felt like I was looked at as a person. I did not feel like people saw me as a big black dude. I felt like people saw me as, what is your name? How are you doing? No one looked at me, acted different. You know, you get them looks and stuff like that, or people, you can tell they're uncomfortable when you're like the minority in the room. Like none of that. Like complete love and openness. And not even the extra love where, you know, they're just showing love because they know you're the minority. It was just like regular. Like, you know, and it just blew my mind. I'm like, I've never felt like this in America. And that's just a little bit of the experiences. Every day was like 6 days. Every single day was some type of deep lesson. Some type of really weird, fun thing would happen. Just beautiful stuff. So yeah, I think the biggest reason why we don't show up, one, because it's difficult to go, because you have to get your ticket isn't an easy thing. And I think two, because you have to be so self-sufficient because they don't provide anything. So you have to have your own camper, your own tent, you have to make sure you have your own water. If you want to shower, like I had to wash up, I had like a bucket and you know, I just made it work because a lot of people, you know, there's no showers. There's porta potties, but you have to like be very self-sufficient. Like next year when I go, there's like these $30 showers online that I can buy on Amazon that I'm going to bring with me. I think you just put water in it and like a battery and it goes. So next year I'm going to be showering a real shower. But things like this, when we hear that, we go, nah, I'm good. Because we don't really get into the camping and things of that nature. But it's like at the same time, like these type of things, when you look at all you can experience and you're not experiencing because of that one thing, it's like we just have to make sure. I just hope that we get to a better space, you know, like because that Burning Man is bomb, amazing for real.
The stories I've heard about it, and especially listening to your past couple episodes where you guys are talking about reliving moments of that experience, it sounds powerful, and I'm glad that you can speak to it with. I mean, because that sometimes I think it's difficult to become something that you can't see. If you can't see it in your mind's eye, or you don't see your likeness in a space, that's part of the reason why this show exists. Is why it means so much for you to share that, because now we're taking excuses away from people because this exists. You know what I'm saying? So like that's what's up. And on the note of blackness, man, because we gotta round out soon, but I want to know how all your travel experiences have changed your identity or evolved your identity as a black man. And is this why we have the sudden name change recently? Because this might be the last time I'm able to call you Kamal, you know, in all honesty, you know what I'm saying? This is gonna be X from now on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Did that come from an identity thing? Like what? Let's talk about identity a little bit. Where'd X come from?
That's a good question. Yeah, man, the X thing is something that I think I started about, I would say 2.5 months, which is actually ironically about a month after Burning Man, because that definitely was a life shifting experience to say the least. And I think that kind of set the tone for me, just understanding who I am as I'm growing. Like, because we go through different vibes, you know, just because you found yourself at one point in your life doesn't mean that's going to fit for the rest of your life. Like, we're continuously growing and shifting and changing. And I think for me, this, like, starting about 4 months ago was when I really realized, like, yo, it's time for another shift. Like, this has to go to the next level of myself. So for me, Malcolm X is my guy. That is my hero, my idol. His story I connect with extremely deeply. Like he's like, I connect with him very strongly. So part of it is an ode to him. And if you look at how his reasoning for changing his last name to X, it was to free himself from the slave master, the names that were given to him by slave masters. So my mindset, to be honest with you, I grew up with a situation where I grew up with one person I thought was my dad, and when I was 13 years old, I found out he wasn't my dad. Right? Things just went bad. And the truth, I found out. My mom explained to me that he wasn't my father. Fast forward, I meet my real dad at like 13, same year. I find this out. I meet my real dad. So at that point, I remember my last name used to be Brown. So from then, I had to change my last name within that same year. Mainly, I think because a lot of it had to do with him being him. Like, okay, this is my son. And then it's like, oh, his last name is that other guy's. So I think that was, as I'm older, looking back at it, I think that had a lot to the reason why I had to change my last name so fast. And I remember I was extremely uncomfortable with it, not only because I'm a kid that just now has 2 dads, and that's extremely confusing and deep, to a point of, in terms of identity. Who am I? Like, I thought this man was who I was, and now you're telling me he's not, and now this other guy is. And although he's a great person, it's very difficult to then re-identify with someone else. And then in that connection, I love both of I could say my dad's is the best way I can put it. But my real father, we don't have the best situation. So for me, I realized, for one, X means the same thing. It means freedom to me. That's how I look at it. The X to me stands for freedom. It means like, I am who I am. I am where I am. I am as I'm creating my life daily. That is who I am. Who I show you is who I am. My last name does not define me, is the way I look at it. And that's a personal decision for me, as I feel like growing into my next level of manhood. And also, a lot of it too is like the way the internet is with all this information going around. I don't want people up in my business. So that's another reason to switch it up. And that's a lot of the reason for the X. To me, X just stands for, it's a strong letter. It represents my hero, and it represents freedom. And I think my whole thing is like, find your freedom, find your voice, find your truth, and whatever that looks like for you, like do that. And if it works for you, if it heals you, if it feeds you, then continue to go towards it. Because I grew up in a situation where, whether it be the parent, the father issues, or just like a lot of, I don't want to call them false leaders, but just people that did not know how to connect with me. It seemed as if like I was just different. I just obviously like, my mind was somewhere else, and I was trying to fit into something that does not reflect who I was, and made me feel like bad for being me, because I'm like,
Right.
this feels extremely boring. I can't do it. This makes, my gifts aren't really being shown here. It seems like their gifts are shown here, mine aren't. And a lot of people would try to hammer in, try to make me change more into what they thought would make me happy, which was more of a copy of what everybody else was, instead of really telling me, well, what do you want to do? Like, what do you like? What would you like to do? Like, what makes you feel happy? What inspires you? What are you interested in? Like, what are you curious about? These type of questions no one ever asked me, so I had to find this on my own when I got around my 20s. And and I think that's another reason why I think freedom in general is just so important to me, and why I think there's no one way of doing anything. Like, and judgment just does a real big disservice to a lot of people with great potential, because of somebody else's opinion and someone else's mindset and someone else's problems too. So breaking free of all those things is something that I've had to learn to embody, and what I try to promote, as I'm a person like everybody else trying to figure this thing out. And yeah, that's a big reason with the identity, with the X vibes, with everything I do, whether it's the photography, speaking, the podcast, like everything that I put my heart into, because I have financial means, like, but that isn't my passion. There's the things I rarely tell people that I've been to 40 countries. I rarely tell people that I own property. And like, to me, that conversation does not do anything about our connection. I'm not trying to buy more property with you. So what does it matter to tell you this? I'm not trying to impress you either. I want to connect with you on a real level. So I've just learned that getting rid of the labels, getting rid of the symbols that we choose to find identity in, can be extremely scary, but it can be also very gratifying and freeing. And that's been the story of my life. So so Kamal X is an extreme example of exactly what I'm choosing to live my life for at this moment. Yeah.
That's so powerful, man, and the power of choice. I mean, I wish we're gonna have to connect again and talk about all the other sub
Yo, I'm
levels of
coming
what
out
you
to
shared
Texas,
today.
homie. I don't know. I'm coming out, bro. Like, I'm definitely. I would love to do, like, we'll meet up in general and like travel, do something like this is too powerful to, like, this is a special thing. So I definitely want to make efforts where I can to connect and continue to grow this and just be a part of it in any kind of way I can, to just get the word out and just show, like, people living their dreams,
Man, I appreciate that so much. And it sounds like travel has given you those reflection points, those challenges where you get to really take a hard look at yourself, to experience these different degrees of freedom, to ultimately say, you know what, this is truly me. And I think
Word.
that's one of the, I think this show, I say it's to equip and inspire men of color to experience the potential transformation that comes from travel. But this is it right here, bro. Like,
Word.
you're living it, and you're able to speak about it, and it's so dope.
Yeah, it's real too. Like I said, like, something you said just triggered something in me. The idea that when you're exploring, and this, I think, is something for anyone traveling needs to realize, something I had to accept too, is as you're exploring, as you're creating these experiences, we already talked about the fact that sometimes things might not end up the way you want them to be. and you
Right.
kind of have to like still kind of find your voice, find your truth, find how you make this happy, this work for you. But there's also the side of you're going to have a lot of experiences, and you need to also be very disciplined in how you choose to move, because like there's a lot with that freedom comes a lot of responsibility
And
like
accountability.
that. Yeah, it's real. Like when I say like you can go somewhere, you can do whatever you want, so there's some places you can really do that. So again, back to the statements earlier of, I think travel really shows you who you really are, because you get to experience yourself in ways that you may not do in regular day-to-day life, regular, the cycles of life, the rhythms of life. So one thing for me, I remember there's been moments where I've had to like reel it back. Like, okay, I'm wilding out a little bit too much. Like,
Right.
like let's not get too free. Like let's because there's freedom. It's freedom in like discipline too. It's freedom in saying no. Like to say no.
Yeah.
Like this is not what I want to do. This isn't who I am. Like this was fun before, but this isn't cool no more. Like there's just certain behaviors that I think as a person you have to experience them though. So have the experience. Like you should learn for yourself that this don't work. You know what I mean? That's the best way I think to learn for most things anyway. And I think that's one of the other lessons that was really prominent. Because of the freedom, it showed me who I am, but it also showed me who I'm not. It really did. Like this ain't it. This ain't it. So it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Real. And before we close out, I'm gonna ask one of the classic Point Noir questions that I haven't asked recently, but we already running into some awesome just conversation. So I gotta know, what would be your number one piece of advice for someone looking to travel that hasn't started yet? What would be the thing that you would encourage them to do or look into first? Like, what would be your best tip?
First thing is to not be afraid to go on your own. That right there, once you letting go, like that's the biggest thing, letting go. Because once you let go of the idea that, oh, I have to have someone with me, oh, I have to have it be whatever kind of way, oh, I can't go to this country because I have to get an extra visa and they don't speak my language, and whatever you come up with in your mind or reasons not to do something, let that go and realize that people do it every day. It's one thing if you go to the middle of a volcano, like don't do that. But people go to Bolivia, people go to like Spain, they go to all these and places that are very remote. People are going to these places all the time. So if they can do it, why can't you?
Yeah.
I think it's about applying yourself. Like don't use excuses. Like, so I would say, the number one thing is not to be afraid to do it with yourself. Because the way it is, like the truth with, especially in America, with the way the economy works and the way like people get like days off and all that, it is difficult to try to put together trips for people to get together. Like to really is, and then you got to figure out y'all want to go to the same place. You might not want to go. A lot of people just go on a trip because the group is going, but they didn't really want to go to that place. It's just like, oh well, I need to go somewhere. So that also limits your experiences. So you probably had the means and the time to go somewhere else, but you didn't go because your friend couldn't go. So I would definitely say letting go and of any type of preconceived notions, and just like being okay with being with yourself and all that that's going to invite. This whole thing is about an experience. So it's not about recreating what you have at home. It's not about going somewhere and watching Netflix. Like it's not about going somewhere and just doing the same thing y'all would have did back at the bars y'all normally go to and just recreating at home. You go to somewhere to experience a different part of you. So once you start realizing that this is uncomfortable, this feels like a little like weird, like I'm scared, I don't have enough information, I think that's when you're doing the right thing. That's when you're like, you're stepping on, you're going in, now you in it. Like it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to suck at certain points because it's going to be hard. It's not going to be baby to you. But when you earn that, whatever it is, whether it's travel or life, whatever it is, like when you earn it and you look back and you go like, yo, I did that. Like, and then you can tell people like, yo, it ain't that serious. Like, cause that's the thing. We always think it's so deep and it's really not. It's really not that deep. Like people do it every day. Why can't you? Especially with the money thing, like people that I know that make minimal amounts of money a year and they still make it happen. You know what I mean? Like they're not out here balling. They don't have like fancy lifestyles. They just minimalist and just they like, oh, I save my money and I go. And I don't necessarily, and they don't have to go to Paris. They can go somewhere that's a little bit more affordable, like Ecuador, which is one of the most amazing places I've ever been. That's in my top 4. Surprised the heck out of me. Ecuador is beautiful. And you can just find places that aren't like the places that everybody else is going, you know? Like, don't just follow the trends. Everyone goes to Dubai. No offense to anybody that goes to these places. I'm just saying, like, diversify your vibe because you never know what's possible, what experiences you might have.
That's real, and that's an excellent note to end out on, and a great piece of advice. So let's, speaking of making decisions and choosing what's for you and what's not for you, Kamal X, would you please bless us and tell us what you have going on? I know what you got going on, but I want you to speak on it, where people can find out a little bit more about you, the projects, initiatives you got going on. Tell the people what's up.
Well, thank you. Well, for me, my Instagram, Rooted Traveler, I've been on this path for a while, whether travel is something, like I said, the last 4 so years, but before that, I've been doing these open dialogue forums called Rooted Conversation. These things started in Atlanta. Now it's beautiful to see we're doing like podcasts and things of this nature. It's a beautiful thing to see the cultural trend of like communication again and conversing, because we lack it so much in so many ways in daily life. But I was bringing like 30, 40 people together to talk about a lot of deep, all deal with, like fear, abandonment, being accepted, like purpose, like who am I? I had a whole segment on that one time. And this is all open dialogue. This isn't me like talking at people. This is 40 people coming in. Most people don't know each other, and being extremely open and like accepting, and which is the most interesting thing, like extremely non-judgmental is the kind of vibe I try to create, because I want people to share their truth. So fast forward to today, I've kind of switched it to Weirder Light Podcast. And it's me now as a traveler. I've finally got enough technical knowledge to be able to like go and bring my podcast with me as I'm traveling. So now as I'm going to different countries, like I did my first one, which was in Japan, few months ago, which was amazing. I felt dope to do my first international podcast. And the idea is just to continue to share our stories, continue to speak on why we are traveling and who are we? Like, who are we really? That's where I'm trying to promote, because I just know from my story and from the people, like all the people I connect with, there's so many people out here that are trying to find out where they belong. There's so many people out here that feel like they're misunderstood. They're trying to find who they are, and they don't know. And a lot of us don't realize that a lot of people are feeling the same way. So we can create a platform that showcases the truth and vulnerability of the human experience, especially in our generation. My goal is to just let people know you're not alone. Like this stuff is real. Like you don't have to feel like you have to deal with your problems by yourself. You don't have to be so hard on yourself because you don't have the lifestyle and the vibe that you think that the internet tells you should be living, for example. So that's my biggest thing. And that's shifting to video. It's actually funny because tomorrow I'm doing my first video shoot I'm switching it to YouTube now. So I moved to LA. So now my home is basically a video studio production spot now. And my first ever recording will be tomorrow. So it's like the show is just growing and reaching more and more people. So that's where my focus has been recently. Like that's where I've been putting my all into. And photography is my thing. And that's the next thing. I have a book that's coming out soon. There's more of like things that I've been working on for years now, as I've been finding myself with this whole, like, traveling and who am I, X and all this other stuff. And now it's at a point where it's finally like been packaged in a way that I can now bring it to people, not the people, but to us, And it's been beautiful because it's been a long process for me. Like the book took like 2.5 years to write. And like the podcast started, I'm not sure. I started in New York, and I remember I knew nothing. I'm sure you can relate. I knew nothing about any of this stuff. And like to get to a point now where I have a complete like lighting, sound, a whole literal production company is all like a day to day, like just trying to learn and keep growing, you know?
As well.
Yeah, therootedproject.com. You check that out.
Okay, the Rooter Project.
There is mainly I use it for my podcast and things of that nature. A couple things about my travels, a couple videos, but the best way to really stay connected to me is through my Instagram. Instagram is pretty much my main source of connecting with people and just trying to inspire as I'm in the space that I'm in now.
Man, dude, thanks for sharing. I wish you the best of success. And I already know I'll be asking you questions because eventually I want to take this international and add a video component. So you're out here
Yeah,
leading the way,
yeah,
and
man,
I'll be able to get
100%, bro.
some tips. Yeah, man, I'm
Yeah,
with it. I'm with it.
100%.
Be out here with just microphones and headphones. Like, hey, y'all
Yo,
want to talk?
it's really,
y'all
I'm
want to
telling
talk?
you, it's real, but it's so, and the thing that's beautiful, and this is something back to travel, that I remember somebody told me this when I was in, try to remember these places, Nicaragua. And he was like,
Mm-hmm.
yo, do you realize this is dope party for New Year's. And he was like, yo, do you realize that we're the first free generation? I was like, whoa, wait, it's like, this dude was bigger than me. It's like 6'8". It's like, she was like talking down to me. Like, it's like, yeah, do you realize we're the first free generation? We're the first generation that can just travel the world and do this. So he was like, what we're doing right now is we're in Nicaragua and we're for people all over the world having this random good time before the new year. This is the first time this has ever happened. This is all brand new. This is not like been happening for years and years and we're just like milking, you know. So it's like, as we are in this stage, whether it's with the technology and like making sure you're creating your own platforms, making sure you're writing your own material, whatever you want to do creatively, like this is brand new. Everything has changed. So even if it seems like, oh, I got two mics in it, like you're changing the game. Like that is ahead of the times of a lot of people aren't, I think a lot of people aren't realizing the opportunities that are being presented. And because it doesn't necessarily look cool yet, but like something is really happening. So that's dope. Like everything, both of us, especially what you're doing with the travel vibes, like I'm with it, bro. I'm with it. 100%. 100%.
Dude, I appreciate that, man, and also appreciate everything you shared for sure. I know people are gonna definitely walk away being able to ask themselves, how would I say, critical questions, you know, in the privacy of their own heads. So thank you for being able to share all of your experience, and I'm glad that it's coming to bloom for you. And I can't wait to see what the future leads. And you know, what's your favorite kind of whiskey? You a rye whiskey fan?
I'm what I mess with the Jack Daniels, the honey, the
Okay.
that's kind of what because I can drink that straight up. I'm not as wild as I used to be, so I don't drink the way I used to. Back in the day, though, like 25, well, when in terms of travel vibes, I used to be, I was getting, so I guess that kind of like humbled me. So now I'm a little bit more chill, though. I'm more chill. But I drink some honey whiskey. That's some good stuff.
Okay. I got you.
Wait, I got a question for you before we end this. I gotta ask.
Yeah, what's up?
Are you coming to Burning Man next year? I need to know. I need to know, bro. I need to know. Like, what's up?
It sounds like I better be there. We'll talk after this about the tickets and how that works. But bro, we're gonna talk after this. I'm in a space where why the hell not, bro?
Yo, I'm telling you, we can make it happen for sure. 100%.
Then I can become a life coach. I can live all my dreams.
Oh, the life coach thing. Yeah. I mean, if it's who you are, I mean, I used to be a life coach, but I'm still in my own way. I am one. I just, but yeah, whatever you are is who you are, man. I'm with it 100%. 100%.
Hey, and for me, more than half the battle, 80% of the battle is figuring out what you're not. Because you're just gonna, for me, it's just try shit. Try it.
Or what's the word? It's not that bad. Like, it really isn't. If you fall on your face, you can get back up, yo. I dropped the ball a lot of times. So and it makes you we all do. Like, so why overthink it? Like, just do it, yo. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
That's what it is, bro. Well, Kamal X, thank you so much for stopping by the show, man. We're definitely going to stay in touch and connected. And what's the energy again? Is it Tiger energy? Is that what it is?
Oh man, Tiger Heart vibes, man. Like Tiger
Heart vibes.
Yo, seriously, like, yo, know your that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah.
Okay.
But the animals and the vibes and animals are a beautiful thing. So yeah, Tiger Heart vibes for sure. 100%.
Well, then that's how we're going to end this one, on some Tiger Heart vibes. And y'all going to find out what that really means later on. So stay tuned.
Yeah,
And
100%.
bro, thank you so much for making the time.
Oh yeah, 100%. Thank you to all listeners for listening. I hope we stay connected. You guys are beautiful too. Thank you for all the vibes, Jerry, for real.
Stay well, and yeah, take care.
All right, peace.
Peace. Now, I know there is no possible way you listened to that entire session and didn't pull away one quote or one idea or one message that resonated with you that you know is going to bring some positivity into your life. So thank you so much, Kamal, for being transparent and being so inviting with the way you presented your perspective. Make sure you check out my man Kamal on Instagram at Rooted Traveler. Check out his podcast, the We Are the Light podcast, where they talk about life and navigating this human journey and experience in such, again, an inviting way. And also check out his website, therootedproject.com. This is a brother you definitely want to keep up with, and we will definitely make sure to keep up with him from the show from a Point Noir perspective. This being the end of the show, I want to remind you all that you could leave us a little Christmas present early if you wanted to, in the form of a review and following us on IG at Point Noir Show. It would mean so much to get your feedback in the review section, and it also helps encourage others to tune in and listen because they see the benefit you're getting out of the show. And ultimately, we're here to add value for you no matter what stage of your travel journey you're in. Even if you haven't started yet, we're here for you. That all being said, this is Jerry the Third, aka Kimono Jack, signing off. See you next time.